Hello friends, my name's James. And this is my 1965 Alberg 30 sloop SV Tritea. I have been slowly sailing solo around the world since leaving Los Angeles in 2021. This is Rhonda, a Kiwi sailor who moved aboard full-time once I reached Sydney. Join us as we explore the east coast of Australia and see as many wild places and wild animals as possible.
Just down in here.
Oh, wow. As we make our way up to Southeast Asia. Okay, that's good. Good morning, aka midday from Hexham. That's the name of this place, right? Hexham?
Hexham.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it's written.
Yeah.
H-E-X-H-A-M. Hexham. Hexham.
And, we had a pretty eventful early evening and then pretty chill night last night. Last night after dinner, a pretty strong squall popped up out of nowhere, out of the north. All the winds had been blowing out of the southeast. That's the trade winds. Everything forecasted had been southeast, so we hit on this side of the island, the anchorage. This squall hits pretty considerable force at like 9. I'm sorry. I don't know what time it was.
Was it before or after dinner?
It was after dinner. Anyway,
so
it was like
maybe at 6 or so.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what time it was, but...
Oh, it would have been about 6:30, 7, I think.
Okay. So it hits, and I see a couple flashes of light, and I was like, oh, what was that? And it looked like, one of the things I saw looked like a torch, like someone on there was a catamaran anchored in here at the same time. And, so I went out in the cockpit to look around. It's raining, wind's blowing like crazy.
It's very dark.
It is
pitch dark. Probably one of the
oppressively dark
anchorages we've been in. Like, normally you can kind of see something, but you couldn't see.
You couldn't see anything. No reference to shore. You couldn't see, and the sound of the wind was greater than the sound of the sea.
Disorientating.
And then we noticed the dude on the captain of the catamaran was on deck with his torch, and he was moving kind of frantically around. So I'm looking around, and then there's a lightning strike, and I see the cliffs like directly aft of Tritea, much closer than they had been. And so, I mean, I already knew we were on a lee shore because the winds were coming out of the north. Rhonda turned on the depth sounder, and I turned on the iPad, and the depth sounder showed that we were now in 5 feet of water. Now, it was low tide, so not that unexpected, but we were much more shallow than we had been when we had anchored. So we knew we had moved. I turned on the iPad, and we had drug about 100 feet before the hook reset. Now, when we came into the anchorage, we passed the catamaran, and that captain was standing on the bow, and he said, I have 30 meters out, which is like 80 feet. Now, I normally would have put out, for this anchorage, there's a big tidal swing happening and everything right now. I normally would have put out 100 feet of chain, but since he had 80 feet out, and this is a very tight anchorage, I went ahead and put out 80 feet as well. And I believe that if I had put out the initial 100 that I wanted to put out when we anchored in the first place, that we wouldn't have drugged. He was dragging as well. That's why he was going kind of crazy on the dock, or on deck. So, I wasn't concerned about it. Well, I started a new track on Navionics. I paid out 25 more feet of chain. And the squall was in short order. Everything went back to normal with the winds blowing us offshore. I don't mind dragging offshore. I just don't like dragging towards shore. But what I think happened was with both of us is I think the squall hit so fast that both of our boats moved far inland before our hooks could reset. So I think we moved 100 feet before the hooks could re-grab.
And another thing to note as well is that they had anchored only maybe half an hour before us or something. If that, like, they had only just come into the anchorage and then we followed them in. So they we're at the same kind of level of hookness as well, if you like.
Yeah, and the tide. So the tide was the same when we both anchored.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that they didn't set anchor watch.
No, they didn't.
Like, we set an hour anchor watch anytime we anchor, and they did not.
No,
they went ashore right away.
Yeah,
so.
They had a dog, which they took ashore. So.
There's that. But everything was fine in the end. We didn't move anymore throughout the night. I left the track running while we sat and, like, we were watching like episodes of Game of Thrones on our laptop, and left it open and kept an eye on it. We just held at our spot. Once we reset in the other wind direction, we didn't move, and I left it on all night, and it got up in the morning. All was good. They have since cleared out and moved on, so now we have the whole bay to ourselves. Pretty cool spot.
Yep.
We have our roll stabilizer out at the boom's end to help with the boat's motion, and I think it's made a huge difference. I lost my original rocker stopper in Hawaii when it chafed through. That's like a must-have in Southern California. You have to have it for all the anchorages, but I lost mine in Hawaii. And I haven't needed it. I haven't needed a roll stabilizer only a few times since then. But here, there's some pretty rolly anchorages. Yeah,
there seems to be quite a lot of reference to needing something, or that most of the anchorages, especially as we head north, are rolly. So,
yeah, so...
This is like the second time we've put it out.
Yeah, and again, what we use for a roll stabilizer is we have the Sea Squid drogue attached to a line, either off the whisker pole, or today it's off the boom, so it gets it further out. That is in the water, and then the dinghy anchor is attached to the bottom of that, so it holds it down, and as the boat as the boat rolls, it dampens that roll with the drogue as a drag device.
Such a cool system.
Which is its job anyway. It's not, I don't know if it's as good as like a regular rocker stopper, but it seems to do the trick. We both slept okay last night.
I slept really well last night. Yeah. Better than the night before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And it's interesting, like the night before, the anchorage didn't seem as active, but it was definitely, there was something going on with it. It was active in some way. Like I didn't sleep very well at all because of it. But last night, yeah, it was more active but less annoying. I think there's different types of activity. I think some stuff you can sleep through. Yeah, some stuff is, just a nightmare to try and sleep to. So yeah, it's interesting. And it doesn't have to be a lot of movement either. Sometimes it can just be just
it's
a
this
slight...
movement that gets me.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was the night before, but there was something about it. But yeah, last night was good.
Yeah.
So it must make a difference. And we didn't have the rocker stopper out the night before either,
no,
did we? Because we didn't really assume that we needed it.
A stopover too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so there's these storms, or you know, it's like a little bit of weather for 3 days, nothing crazy. But the morning's rains seem to have passed. We've just been holed up doing computer work. And now it's time to go ashore. We haven't been ashore yet.
Not yet.
And let's go check it out. Ooh. Not much of a trail, kind of just flattens out at the top and then the bush gets thicker. But pretty cool to hike up this high and see Tritea. Beautiful spot. Could also just see how narrow the island is at this one point. It's like a little isthmus. That's pretty cool. And I'm loving the view from up here.
If you enjoy the content on this channel and would like to contribute, you can consider joining the Patreon crew. Thanks for watching. Fair winds until next time.